Hey there, this is the One Boom, and welcome to a video where I complain about Call of Duty. I've been spending some time trying to consider how I want my channel to go. Because you haven't noticed, I haven't made a Season 1 Reloaded video yet, and of course this makes me irrelevant. But I don't feel like the way I'm going to be pursuing relevance going forward with this channel is covering every piece of new content. Because being like, hey, Christmas Nuketown is here, and it is Nuketown but Christmas. Or Hacienda's back and I like it, is just not that interesting of a video. I think I will do like quarterly reviews of Black Ops 6, and I will be doing one about whether or not you should buy Black Ops 6 for its multiplayer very soon so that people can sort of plan their holiday shopping. But in general, I found myself feeling really demotivated when it came to making content because I was expecting to do what I used to do and be like, Season 1 Reloaded, what are my thoughts? And it's like, not interesting, who cares? I'll have opinions about things later that are more interesting and more worthwhile, more worth watching. So stay tuned for that. If you want to see me interact and review content after it comes out, watch my live streams. I will stream the new seasons, the new maps, and the new stuff, and I will be sharing my opinions there. In terms of video content, I want to talk about what we're talking about in today's video, which is how the attachments in Black Ops 6 are very frustrating. And let me start off with a bit of a story here. My girlfriend recently just purchased a PS5 for herself. I have had a PS4 Pro and a Series X in this house for a while, but since we've moved out into our own place, we have not, she hasn't had her own console. So she got a PS5 and we bought Black Ops 6 for it so that she can actually play with me and my friends and my coworkers, and it's gonna be cool. She actually might be on a few streams soon, and that'd be really awesome. But she's very new to COD, and so I'm giving her tips and tricks, and when I'm telling her how some of these attachments work, we kind of come to this interesting conclusion where some of the attachments just sort of make the gun do the thing you would assume it would be doing anyway. Some attachments, let's say some classic ones here, like suppressors, FMJ, extended mags, stuff like that feels like a bonus. More ammunition that's better at penetration, suppressors that keep you stealthy. Like those are they're attachments. They're playstyle changers, they are bonuses, they are fun to play around with. But Black Ops 6 is full of attachments that do not make the gun more fun to use. It just makes the gun do the thing that most people would be assuming it should be doing anyway. Starting off with the thing that I've talked about a lot, the muzzle brake actually makes your recoil patterns consistent after reset. Because without the muzzle brake, if you fire your gun in full auto for like a few rounds, let your gun recenter, it actually has to go through a second little mini recenter animation before you're actually going to be able to shoot back into that predictable recoil pattern. So a lot of people are firing full auto, stopping, firing again, and getting a second recoil pattern, and it throws off their muscle memory. So if you have trouble killing multiple targets, like kill one person, stop, go shoot somebody else for a double kill, if you have trouble with that, especially at mid-range, it's likely because you do not have a muzzle brake on your gun. But you would just assume that once the recoil is done and your gun goes back down to the center of your screen and you start firing again, you'll be firing into predictive recoil, but you're not. Then you have the target laser, which removes your idle sway upon aiming down sight, but that should just be the way it is anyway. You don't assume that idle sway is passively happening whether you're ADS or not, so most people don't realize that there is idle sway off the center of their screen, which in most gunfights with like automatic weapons, you're not going to notice, but it definitely, and I've proven in the firing range, that it can throw you off a little bit more than you think it can. So if you've ever aimed down sight and gone for a shot and did not get a hit marker on your first shot, even though you felt like you were right on them, it could be because idle sway was just a little bit off them, and at mid and longer ranges, this can be really detrimental. Then you have the Strelick laser, which allows you to get ADS accuracy sooner throughout your ADS animation. Basically, during your aim down sight animation, you have a lot of random still hipfire recoil pattern until you're fully aimed down sight. You might assume, because the best part about aiming down sight is that you are looking down a sight, that the recoil pattern isn't actually a random hipfire spread until you're fully ADS. You wouldn't assume that that would be the case. In a fast-paced game like COD, you would just assume that as you're aiming down sight, your bullets are going to be going at the center of your screen, but they're not unless you use the Strelick laser. And I have so many things to say here. I'm going to try to make this as quick and as painless as possible. First of all, the kick reset speed bonus from the muzzle brake could also be on the compensator and ported compensator. Basically, the compensators could just do that passively, and that would be really cool. Also, the target laser could just be a combination of what the Strelick laser and the target laser does, so it's low idle sway and immediate ADS accuracy. I don't think there's any real justification for limiting players with these attachments where it's like, oh, well, do I want less idle sway or do I want perfect aim down sight accuracy while ADSing? It's like, oh, I'd love the compensator to, tone down my recoil, but my recoil will still be random even if the, general magnitude of it is lower, and that's just very weird. I get having to choose between aim down sight time and sprint to fire, or vertical recoil control or horizontal recoil control. I get choosing between a foregrip that helps with horizontal and sprint speed versus horizontal and aim stability. Like, that makes sense to me. Tweaking your gun for your playstyle is a good idea, and you could definitely rewrite the opinion I have in this video to just be like, hey, why do we have attachments anyway? Why aren't the guns just perfect out the gate? But my point is that some of the things that I'm talking about here, they're not bonuses. They just do the things that you would think the gun would do anyway, and that is not interesting, and it's kind of a minefield for new players. It creates this weird knowledge skill gap where maybe the difference between a good player and a bad player is less about skill and less about game sense and knowledge, and more just about the good player knows how weird the gun behaviors are, and how these niche, seemingly innocuous attachments are actually very important. And in old COD, like, you threw a red dot and a suppressor, maybe rapid fire on a gun, and it made sense. A new player didn't log on and have to learn through YouTube videos about how ADS transitional accuracy works, predictive recoil patterns with and without muzzle brake, or aiming stability upon aiming down sight. They never had to worry about that because they could just throw a red dot on their gun, and they just figured that when they aimed down sight and started shooting, it made sense. Since we've had Gunsmith, there's been a lot of attachments here and there that just do not explain what they do very well, and it's only like higher level players that end up finding out exactly what combination of attachments on certain guns is worthwhile. And while I love that there's a skill gap, and I love that Gunsmith creates this system where you can make wrong decisions and you can make really, really right decisions for certain guns and playstyles, I do like that. That's exciting. It gets to the point where it's just sort of granular and boring. It's not exciting to have faster ADS transitional, accuracy. Like, you would just run quick draw grip and then aim down sight faster and not have to worry about it. Why is there a laser specifically for when my gun doesn't aim down sight very fast, but I still want that ADS transitional accuracy to be up higher? But then you start to think of just those little instances, those little millisecond and millimeter instances where maybe if I had the Strelick, maybe if I had the muzzle brake, maybe if I had the target laser, I would have won that gunfight if I just had a little bit more consistency in my gun. But inarguably, these are just things the guns could be doing anyway. It makes sense to leave it up to the player. Do they want flinch resistance or aim walking movement speed, or a little bit of both? Do they want slide to fire and dive to fire speeds increased, or just sprint to fire and aim down sight times increased, or just aim down sight or just sprint to fire? These things make sense to me and they are fun to play around with. Do they want lower recoil? Do they want a higher fire rate? That is, again, fun to play around with different guns. What's not necessarily exciting is making up for a weapon's unnecessary shortcomings that you would just assume aren't a problem anyway with boring attachments. But if you want to make up for your gun's shortcomings, I do have a video that I will link here at the end that's all about how to make your gun feel like an OG COD gun, basically feeling like a hit scan, no idle sway, laser beam. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it and subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notified when I go live, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!